Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattocks, a proud member of the Craftsman Online Media Network.
So we've probably all been there, right? That moment where somebody walks up and hands you a gift and then tries to solicit a donation from you, or you're in a parking lot and you get pulled into a rally or an argument, some conversation where this something was taken from you. Maybe you can't identify exactly what it was, but something was taken from you in that conversation, and it was in some way a consumption of value, right? They took something important from you that you thought was important anyway. Things like money, things like your attention or your emotional peace, right? They've taken your peace because they embroiled you in an argument. When we talk about money and valuables in a Masonic context, we're moving past the conversation, strictly speaking, about dollars or pounds or whatever. We are talking about the things that we will use as a medium of exchange of value. When we work with other people, they need different things from us on a regular basis, right? Some people need your currency. Some people need emotional sort of resources. Some folks will need attention resources. And this is all kind of important to understand, because if you don't understand why people do these things and what they're actually doing, you can't harden yourself and manage your compass, right? You can't keep your desires within due bounds towards all mankind. And remember your preparing room conversation where you are, divesting yourself of money and valuables in the conversations. It's important to understand this because when other folks aren't doing the self-development work that we're doing as Masons, you have this challenge because you can't trust their motive. You can't trust that they are being honest at all times. You can't, and even amongst the brethren, it's hard to trust that they're being honest at all times, because if they don't understand themselves, they can't reasonably understand their own motives. And if they can't understand their own motives, then essentially the ruffians kind of take control and run the show. So when we talk about moving through things like money and valuables as a concept, we want to be able to understand not just our own motivations, but the motivations of the people around us. And you probably have seen this if you've ever worked with children. You have very likely, if you've worked with children, seen some children that court the good kind of attention. They court that positive attention, that positive payoff, where they do something that they think you'll like, and they are looking for that gold star, that pat on the head. Abstract that to the other sort of type of child who doesn't know how to do that, or maybe has not gotten what they needed or in those exchanges in the past, and instead courts negative attention. They court that, getting yelled at or hollered at. What's important to understand amongst the children in particular is that positive and negative attention are still attention, right? They're still the kinds of exchange that validates that child's experience. The same mechanic that influences children influences adults, influence everyone you know, and in that process, and not just for attention, but for money, for emotional support, for care, all of these mechanics that you thought, hey, I've outgrown these as a child, very likely are influencing everyone you meet. And as Masons, we're trying to overcome some of that sort of programming from our early life so that we can be agentic, right? We can be in charge of this conversation. When you gain that capacity to a degree, what you end up seeing in the world is the folks that have not. It becomes quite clear this is a cry for attention. This is a plea for, the gold star, the pat on the head. And as you work through this, as you begin to learn these mechanics, you can better help these folks that may need it and help yourself by managing your resources in a positive way. We'll get more into this over the course of the coming episodes.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at amasonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.